Okay, I will post it in my YouTube. So I will send the questions. Why behavior name was changed to Paul?
Yeah, really good question. So it has to do with several reasons. One is that the original FRP talked about behavior. So that was like in the original paper, or Fran at the time. But there was a term they came up with, and the version that we had in PureScript had drifted really far away from the original one. It was no longer kind of fitting with the definition, so it didn't really make sense to keep the name. So that's one reason. And the other reason is that when Fran was created originally, it was created kind of in a context that was a little bit different from PureScript. It was sort of the early days of Haskell, whereas the definition of behavior is really being able to get a value at any point in that time. And realistically, when you're dealing with computer programs, time is very linked to the actual execution time of the program. So it didn't really make, and that you could do just with a ref, like a text.ref. So it didn't make a lot of sense to have separate behavior abstraction when you already have ref. So for those two reasons, the drift from the original definition, and then also kind of the fact that we have ref, that's why we changed it to Paul.
So the original definition was changed, and how it was changed?
Yeah, so the original definition was really as a something that's a continuous function of time. So the contract of any function is that it's either one-to-one or many-to-one. But for example, like if you just take a classical mathematical function, if you have f of x equals 5, that's many-to-one. If you have f of x equals x, that's one-to-one. But a function can only have one output.
So f of
yeah.
x is one-to-one, pure function, right?
Yeah, exactly. For not necessarily one-to-one, but either one-to-one or many-to-one. For example, like f of x equals 5 is many-to-one because everything becomes 5. But the most important thing is that a function has one and only one output. So a behavior is intended to be a continuous function of time, meaning that for any point in time, there was only one output. Whereas the PureScript version that was created by Phil Freeman had at any one point in time, and so the definition that he created that we changed to Paul is that for any one point in time, you can actually have multiple things that are output. So it sort of breaks the contract of one-to-one, and yeah, that's how it was changed.
So again, I will repeat, and you test me. So Freeman definition was allowed many-to-one, but our definition allows only one-to-one.
No, it's not quite that. It's that Freeman's definition allows many-to-one, and we kept Freeman's definition. So ours hasn't really changed. It's just that we've renamed it, meaning that because Freeman's definition of behavior allowed many-to-one, it sort of wasn't a behavior anymore, even though he called it that. So we decided to change the name to better reflect what it actually does.
You say it because it's not many-to-one, so it's not behavior anymore. Behavior in Rust code?
That I don't know actually. I don't know that much about Rust, so unfortunately I can't say.
Yeah, I'm saying Rust because you told something about Rust. I don't know the how it's recording. No, I hear you sometimes bad, but right now much better. Before words.
Okay.
And so you told the behavior. Where this definition in where can I find and read the type of behavior that allowed only one-to-one?
Yeah, so good question. So that's in the original behavior paper, which is by Paul Husek, and there's one other author. But this, what's it? Husek brand. Let me find function. Connell Elliott, Paul Husek, not this one. So let me send it to you on Discord. So that's the original paper that had the original one-to-one definition, and then when Freeman created his definition, it was no longer one-to-one. It was no longer a function of time. It's still related to time, but it just wasn't a function anymore, so it sort of broke that behavior contract.
What broke the contract? Again, I didn't hear.
The way that it, yeah, no worries. So the way that it used to work, like in the original contract, and by the way, when I say it broke the contract, I don't mean that was bad. It's actually really good what Phil did. It's just that it was no longer behavior. So in the original behavior, at any point in time, like if you take time equals 3 seconds or time equals 4 seconds or 5 seconds, there was only one thing observed, which sort of makes sense for behavior. So for example, if you think of a ball bouncing, at time 3, the position might be 1, at time 4, the position might be 2. So it's a function of time, was the original behavior. With Phil's definition, what it was is for every time, or at every moment that you measured, made a measurement, for example, at time equals 1 or time equals 2, there could be multiple measurements. So for example, at time equals 2, you can measure 3, 4, and 5. And all those measurements could happen at different times as well. So that's the way that Phil's definition worked. And because of that, it was no longer behavior in the classical sense of the term.
Cool. Do you know this Haskell library Reflex?
No, I actually don't know that library.
Oh, really? Yeah, I just wanted to know, to ask you, what they allow. Are they one-to-one or are they many-to-one?
Oh yeah, good question. Yeah, unfortunately, I don't know the library, so I can't answer it. But it's really good question.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Good. I will check this later. So, and I have seen in our library that and your posts that you wanted to change the definition of pole, and I have seen that you did change. You wanted to change to this definition, and I have seen that you did change to this definition.
Yeah. The definition that Phil made, I more or less kept. I just created sort of a slightly optimized version of it that is faster in certain situations, but otherwise it's the same one that Phil made, basically.
So our event A, B to A, right, and then event A, it's the same. The behavior is the same with previous two. It's just optimized.
Exactly. That's absolutely right. So what you just wrote is what Phil called a behavior, and that's what we changed to be called a poll, because as you can see, it's no longer a function of time. It takes an event and produces an event. So it's entirely possible that it can. It's just there's no longer a one-to-one relationship in there anymore. It's possible to, for example, to take an event and to not emit, or to take one event and then to return an event that doesn't emit anything. You can have event B to A and then output empty. And if you output an empty event, then it's the same as outputting something that doesn't do anything, which is not a continuous function of time at all. So sort of Phil's definition allows for you to do those things, which is why it's so why the term behavior doesn't quite correspond to it. The interesting thing is that Phil sort of only ever, when he was using the library and when he wrote it, from reading his source code, I know that he only ever used it like an original behavior. So he never sort of stretched the limits of the library. But if you kind of are rigid about it and look at the definition, you can see that because you're outputting an event A, you could output anything, basically.
You can output event A, you can output anything.
Exactly, because of course, you need a B to get an A, for the same reason that in Yoneda you need a B to get an A, meaning that in order to actually produce an A value, you need a B. But that said, because you can have an empty event, you don't need ever to emit a B to get an empty event. You can just return the empty event. So it's these sorts of things that make Phil's definition sort of break the original contract.
Okay, so the question: do you want to change? Do you want to replace this field definition with optimized definition in future?
No, actually, so another really good question. So they're both part of the Hyrule library right now. One is in frp.pol.unoptimized, which is Phil's definition, and then mine that I wrote on top of it in just frp.pol. And actually, they have the same, or almost the same exact behavior. The unoptimized version, you could do a bit more than the optimized version, but the optimized version works fine for most cases. So it's really more of an implementation question than anything else. I definitely wouldn't replace the original one, but Phil, just because it's still quite good. But it's really slow, is the thing. So if you're going to use it, like, for example, in a web app, it doesn't really work. So you need something faster.
You said the phrase optimized version can do a little bit more than non-optimized, right?
The opposite. It could do a little bit. The opposite. It could do a little bit less than the non-optimized. Like it's not as full-featured as the non-optimized. The non-optimized, you could do anything basically, whereas the optimized, for example, the optimized API is missing certain functions that the optimized one has, just because it's sort of a little bit less expressive, but it's much faster.
Okay, so do you want to replace it in future? And I'm asking because when I look at this non-optimized version, I don't understand what it means, like from A to B, the function, what it does. And when I look at this other definition, optimized definition, it's much easier to understand.
Yeah, the optimized version feels a little bit more like sort of a standard ADT, whereas the unoptimized version looks a little bit more like Yoneda. And if you haven't worked with category theory and you kind of haven't seen how Yoneda works, then it's a little bit confusing. to understand what that A to B means. So, but that said, Phil's definition conceptually is extremely elegant and very expressive. So I wouldn't want to replace it just because it has this sort of purity to it that is really nice, in my opinion. Whereas the optimized one just doesn't quite. It's because of its lack of purity, it sort of doesn't allow you to do certain things. It sort of makes certain trade-offs to be fast. For example, like if you want to model derivatives, or if you want to model differential equations with an unoptimized one, at least currently you can't, because it sort of can't. With the optimized one, I apologize. With the optimized one, you can't because it can't encode differential equations. Yet, whereas the unoptimized, it absolutely can. So it's just little things like that that are sort of the difference between the two.
Wow. Optimized version cannot encode differentials. Really?
Exactly. Yeah, it struggles encoding fixed points and differential equations. It can for a limited number of cases of fixed points and differential equations, but for the majority, it can't, just because it makes certain trade-offs. Basically, anytime that you have a fixed point, you can't, or it's difficult to store fixed points as data, because usually a fixed point implies some form of recursion, and usually recursion implies some form of a function. But the optimized version tries to avoid storing things as functions and store some as data. So for most things, it can do that, but you get into trouble when you start dealing with fixed points.
And you said the phrase non-optimized version has a lack of security, right?
No, I didn't quite say lack of security. It's just the unoptimized version is slow. That's its issue.
Okay, so and I didn't know that it has Yoneda. It was constructed using Yoneda, and now I see. It seems to me that it's like this. When I say this thing, it's the same as just B, right?
It looks. One second. I don't. I need to go back to Discord just what you're writing. Let me go back to the chat. Sorry, can you say it one more time?
Yeah. So after, am I right that this is equal to this?
Sure. I think that you have it a little backwards. I think it would need to be event B to A as the first one, if I'm following your thinking correctly. Because basically, sort of if you get rid of events, let me type in the yes, exactly. So the last thing you pasted is correct.
Damn, right.
Yeah, because the last thing you pasted is A to B and then B, whereas the first one you pasted is A to B and then A. Let me open up actually really quick a definition of Yoneda just so you can see it. You can see what I'm talking about. There's one on Pursuit. Because if you haven't seen it before, which most people haven't, it's just really difficult to know what's going on. Okay, so you can see that it's a little bit different, but if you click through, you actually see that there's quite a lot of similarities. Actually, let me just put you on mute for 1 second. I just need to check one thing here at my office, but I'll be back in like 30 seconds.
Mhm.
Sorry, it'll just be one more moment, and then I'll be right back.
Yeah. Stop. What? B. And this is A. Yeah.
Okay, sorry about that. I'm back now.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember the UNEDA lemma and continuation.
Can you spell it out in the chat just so I remember? The continuation, yeah, Kant, absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, so this Kant, it's just equal to A. It's the same as saying A. By UNEDA lemma.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
Yeah, exactly. Like, yeah.
so our function, our event is just I don't know. No, it's not.
It's almost that. So basically, you have to change B to A. Like really the what you want for anything that's kind of native, like, let me just find there we go. In the covariant position, you want the same thing that's in the covariant position, the contravariant position. So sort of another way to say it is that the only way to produce an A is with a B. Or another way to say that is that B unlocks A. B is like a key that unlocks. A, actually, there's a profunctor that works like this as well. That I'll send it to you. So when I talk about like this notion of being locked, there's a profunctor called closed that functions in a very similar way. That you can always sort of take any profunctor, or not any profunctor, but there's many profunctors that you could take and lock them. So a function you could sort of lock with an arbitrary key, and then you need that key to open it back up again. So in this case, that key is X. And here with UNEDA and event Kant, you need a key to open them. So in the case of the definition of behavior, you need a key, which is B, to open up an A. And it has to work for all A. Otherwise, the definition doesn't hold. So that's the original way that Phil defines behavior, which is, as you say, very, very close to the continuation monad, and also very close to unidata, and also very close to closed profunctors.
Mm-hmm. So, but I don't see the profunctor for the poll, right? You say that if the poll is profunctor, but event is not profunctor.
No, sorry, no, that's not. What I was saying is that closed, that you can have closed profunctors that follow a similar shape, but no, poll isn't a profunctor. And it can't be just because, for many reasons, one of which is that poll is the kind of poll is, poll's kind is type to type, so it's a functor.
Mm-hmm.
A profunctor is a cross between a category and its opposite, so it needs two type positions. So for example, function is a profunctor. But no, event is the only reason I bring up closed is because it's a closed profunctor uses the same mechanism that unidata does. It sort of locks one variable with another variable.
Yeah. Okay, thank you. I will not. Last question.
Yeah, sure.
Так. Yeah, like, so I have asked that you don't want to change the variant of poll. I understood why, because current version is better, right?
Yeah, exactly. Kind of that both versions serve their purpose.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I was thinking about making the RxJS marbles for Hyrule. Do you know this website?
Yeah, no, actually I don't. 1 second. RxJS marbles. Let me check it out. Oh, yeah. Interesting. That's really interesting. So I've seen these diagrams before. Those are quite nice. So yeah, I think that for Hyrule, it's absolutely possible to do something like this. Yeah, the hardest thing with Hyrule and perhaps with Arcs as well is when you have concurrent events, like when you have two things at the same time, kind of determining which one comes first and which one comes second. But Hyrule definitely has that. So for example, there's these things, I'm sure you've seen it before, these primitives like sample on left, sample on right. But all of those sort of have to, so yeah, events have two notions of time, which is really tricky. So the first notion of time is like clock time. So for example, like an event can happen, like there could be one event at 5 p.m. and another event at 6 p.m. Like events happen in time. So that's one way to think about time and events. And then another way to think about it is CPU time, meaning that events happen in a program. So if, let's say that you have 3 events that happen at the same time, they don't really happen at the same time. It's a computer program, of course. So one, and it's not multi-threaded, so one has to follow the other one. So because of that, dealing with co-temporal events, meaning events that happen at the same time, is extremely difficult. A lot of the Hyrule code goes to just that case, which is a very common case. For example, if you're making a web page and you transition to a new page, then all the new DOM elements are supposed to appear at the same time, more or less. So they're co-temporal. So I would say that with Marbles, if you make it, which sounds like absolutely great, I think that would be a really fun project. Sort of one of the hardest things to represent is co-temporality, like when two things happen at the same time.
Yeah, and what should I do if they happen at the same time? Have two different versions. One is based on sample on left, and the other is sample on right. Two different
It's really
images.
hard. It's a really good question, and there's sort of no good answer to it. So what you just said is one possibility for sure. There will be two different outcomes if you use sample left or sample up, right? There'll be two. It will just look different. I would put both, but just kind of maybe the most important thing is just kind of alerting people to the idea that they are different. So that they sort of understand why it matters. Because, of course, for two things that happen at the same time, it shouldn't matter if one's on the left or one's on the right. But when you're dealing with programming, left happens before the right. Like, that's just the execution time. So it's just a corner case that you might run into, and it's kind of an interesting thing to think about.
Okay. Thank you. That's all about Hyrule. What are you working on right now?
Me personally, you mean?
Yeah.
Or so personally, so most of my work is with a company called Daamn, which makes AI voice changing. And then I also have a small company here in Finland, where I live in Finland, that does that buys and sells other companies, essentially. And that's something I do with friends here. So those two projects keep me busy. And then I also work a little bit on ending it now for a restaurant, actually, which is quite fun. But that's kind of how it's been.
Artificial intelligence for the restaurant, you say?
Actually, that's exactly what it was. So, I'm going to wind that project down actually this week, but for a few months, I've been working on sort of this one high-tech restaurant in Helsinki. That was an interesting project. Yeah.
Okay. Do you live in France?
I live in Finland, actually. I moved to Finland from France.
Oh, Finland. So I have seen that you won your in conversations, like you want to make the wrapper for native script. This is one task that you are doing. So the second task.
I would love to.
Yeah, the second task that you are doing is to in Monday you will have the conversation with with purescript team to fix the bot for registry, purescript registry, to allow monorepos.
Yeah, definitely, and sort of. There's actually one thing I'm working on today. I'm prepping that call today. So they want to rewrite the registry, which sounds great. And there's already a lot of work that's been done on that, which is really, really nice in the Spigo repository. So sort of, most of the ideas have already been covered on how to do it. So sort of the main thing that I'm fine rewriting the registry. That's I think would be a really nice project. But sort of the recommendation I have for the team is to use this thing called Veek, which is a static site builder, just because it can deploy to Vercel, and then you get a lot of speed sort of for free if you do that. And then also in terms of the doc search, I think that the current way it's done. I'm not it's not quite the way that I would do it, so I'm also going to pitch a different doc search that's based on this thing called Face. I'll send you Face so you can see it, but this is kind of how I would like to do doc search, and I'm putting together a small sketch so that they can kind of see how it would work with
doc search. Wow. Cool. PureScript is not dead. Seems like.
No, definitely not. I mean, it's a really small community. I would say the compiler is sort of dead, so nobody really wants to work on the compiler anymore, which is of course problematic if it gets too outdated. But in general, it's quite stable. It's a little bit like there's several programs like that. Like for example, Tex, T-E-X. Like the typesetter Tex.
T-E-X? Tex. Latex.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly, yeah. So that's a program that hasn't changed, I think, in like 20 years or something.
Yeah.
It almost never changes. But still, like, millions of people around the world use it daily. So, yeah, I mean, sometimes programs just kind of achieve a state where they don't really need to be updated that much. And the PureScript compiler, on the whole, is in a pretty good place. So I think that compiler development is quite slow. But there's a few people that have interesting projects even with that. Like Justin Garcia is making his own version of the PureScript compiler. So even there, you have some exciting stuff. But otherwise, no, PureScript's definitely not dead. If anything, I think that in a way it's more relevant than ever. Because, I mean, for me at least, I use it in heavy combination with machine learning models. So like I use Llama a lot, Facebook's open source, open weights model. And what I do is a lot of is code generation of types and terms. And then when you're refactoring, a language like PureScript adds this extra layer of security because you know what the type contract is. Things. So sort of machine, like LLM generated code plus strongly typed languages, I think is a really, really good, really safe, productive way to develop. So no, I think that languages like PureScript are very relevant, and I hope to see more adoption.
What is your PDoom?
PDoom, could you just make sure that PDoom, I actually don't know what that is. Let me, okay, I'm reading about it right now, like the apocalypse. I just came on the first article that says what it is, so now I see what it is. I'll let you know. I don't have an answer yet, but that's a great. I didn't even know this was a concept, but it's a really, really fun concept. I'll let you know.
Okay. Okay. I had questions, but I forgot them. Hell. I hate the PureScript import and Haskell. No, this model system, like import data, blah blah. Why? And there is a clash in Perceived, right? A clash of I can search. I don't know. The module called color, and it will show me two different packages, and this is horrible. I want them to change this model system to, no, like in JavaScript, import and then the name of module, right?
Yeah.
What you think about
That would be good. Agreed. Yeah, it would, for sure, that's one way to do it. My biggest gripe with the import system is that it doesn't allow for dynamic imports. Have you heard of, I could send you the thing, for that. So here's the documentation about it. So, it's a different way of importing, and, dynamic imports,
Yeah.
they return a promise. So it's very, very JavaScripty feature. But what dynamic imports allow for is code splitting. So if you import something dynamically, then bundlers will bundle it as a separate JavaScript file. So what that then means is that the initial JavaScript that you download is much smaller, because all of those dynamic import statements are separate, or lead to separate files.
Yeah.
At build time. So websites that can use that will be very fast, very, very fast. And you can hack that in PureScript. You can hack anything in PureScript because of the FFI, but it's just not very clean.
Yeah.
So I would love to see some solution to that.
Yeah, and my problem is not not because code splitting. It's just horrible to import. The modules are duplicated in PureSeed. Yeah, that's why.
Yeah. No, it's a mess. I agree, and like it could definitely be fixed. It's one of the weaker parts of the language. Also with IDE support, sort of whenever you're trying to teach somebody PureScript, you wind up having to import like I have this problem in Deku documentation that like half the documentation is just import statements. So yeah, I mean I don't know what a better way would be, but there must be some better way.
When and will the WASM replace JavaScript completely?
I mean, if it does, well, definitely not completely, because WASM can't, by design, like WASM is pure by design, so it doesn't have any notion of like event listeners and stuff like that. And it sort of a very, very, of course, important part of the DOM is like clicks and keyboard and stuff like that. So that part of JavaScript can't be WASM, so it would have to be something else. That said, it doesn't necessarily have to be JavaScript. They could come up with something other than JavaScript for those things. But you still need some way to hook into the event system.
Wow, I didn't know. And no, okay, it's pure by design, and what doesn't allow to connect?
So for example, like click events and stuff, and any event in the browser, WASM can't do. It's sort of like it can only do pure functions, and I think it might be able to print debug statements as well. I forget. So pure functions plus debug statements is all it can do. Well, actually, no, sorry, I shouldn't say pure functions. It has mutable arrays and stuff like that. So maybe a better way to think about it is sort of like the ST monad.
So the problem is, no, I can connect. It's just I cannot debug the functions that have connected to the event. And this function is written on WASM. That's the problem, right?
Yeah. Yeah, that and also like for example in HTML, when you have like when you write like a click event, there's just no way or no way yet to pump that click event easily into WASM. I mean, for example, if you have like I'll try to find an example. If you do like something something like that, which is what's it mean? That's not quite right. Yep. Something like that. It would be very hard for WASM to replace something like that. I mean, two things are happening there. One is that you're listening to a click event, and the second is that you're raising an alert in a browser. So just things like that WASM's not good for. So that's why I think that it won't replace JavaScript, but you might get rid of JavaScript in another way, just not necessarily with WASM. Maybe partly by WASM, but not completely.
Like, and what is the problem to write like this?
I mean, there's a couple of problems. One is that it doesn't take. Actually, to be honest, I'm not sure. I would have to look. It's a good question. I would have to look into it.
Okay.
But maybe the one thing is that the alert couldn't happen from WASM.
Alert cannot
like
happen.
the browser alert. But that amongst other things, like also with WASM, you can't access. I mean, there's many things you can't do. You can't access the file system. Sort of anything that has all the side effect is just not in scope.
Looks to me like not a problem, just technical problem. Because I want to write.
Yeah, it's possible. I mean,
in Haskell.
Yeah. I mean, it just depends on the web standards and sort of how they evolve. I mean, currently by design, WASM is supposed to be more or less pure, but I mean, of course, designs change and they could grow. It's just for now the project is there.
Okay. No. Okay, I have no more questions. Have you heard that humans are robots?
No.
Yeah, I recently understood how humans have appeared in the planet, in the universe. It's just sometimes molecules from the air. Sometimes molecules is created that makes copies of themselves, the self-replicating molecule, and they just appear randomly. Just atoms in the air connect, and some of these molecules happen to be the robots, and we humans are descendants of this one molecule which appeared randomly, and we are robots.
Yeah, it's an interesting idea. I haven't heard that.
Yeah.
I haven't heard that before.
And I have read David Deutsch, and he tells, one physicist, and he tells that actually before the molecule robot, there was something even simpler. It's a combination of catalyst and molecule that makes catalyst. So and these two molecules, they found each other in the water near volcano probably, and catalyst speeds up the molecule that creates catalyst, and molecule that creates catalyst creates catalyst. So and I've
Interesting.
yeah, and I was no, and like I wrote about what is catalyst, and actually I read the third book, and they tell that the laws of physics are a type of catalyst too. It's like, what is catalyst? Catalyst is something that makes change. No, like a function from input to the output, like it makes the change, it transforms something, and catalyst keeps this transformative function. It's like it makes the change, but it is not destroyed. It keeps this ability to transform, and bam, the laws of universe are a type of catalyst. They make a change and they keep the ability to make the change.
Yeah, that's a really interesting idea. It's a really interesting idea. I have to think about it more, but it's a cool idea.
Yeah, humans are robots, and in future we will live like kings. We will work on stopping the heat death of the universe. And how to stop?
Yes.
Yeah, it's like the David Deutsch in his book Beginning of Infinity. He tells that every second right now, the universe becomes hotter and hotter, and there will be a time in future when the universe will be unstable, and it will want to destroy itself, and it will like bend, and we will have to stabilize the universe. And how to stabilize the universe? We will have to create the better science, and we will have to when the universe will be unstable, we will have access to the infinite energy, and we will use this infinite energy to live infinitely. And how to stabilize the universe? We will have to, it's not possible to stabilize the universe. We will have to move our consciousness from our brains to the computer, and then re-implement this computer not in atoms but in quarks, and from quarks to the quantum gravitation waves, and from gravitational waves to something else which we will find in future. And it's like we will have to the problems will exist forever, and all problems are possible to fix. So it's like to die is possible, but also is possible to live forever.
Yes, it's a really interesting idea. I have to think about it tomorrow. Maybe send me a couple book recommendations, and I could check it out for sure.
Yeah, I will send how life was created. Oh, this is my website, and this is the second I wrote, and this is the first. When the war started, I was like, the war started because of religion, and the war started because some people think that the energy in the universe is not infinite, And because it's not infinite, it's like only one should survive. But it's not true. The energy in the universe is infinite, and we will never experience the end of the universe, and we will live forever, and everyone will live infinitely good. So there is no reason. Huh?
It's a beautiful idea.
Yeah, there is no reason to fight for territories because the territories will be infinite. There is no reason to fight to preserve, like some people say that we don't want black people to have sex with our white girls because the gene for blue eyes is how would say it, very easy to disappear, right? And that's why we don't want them to have sex. But it's not true. This is a technological problem. In future, we will have ability to make any eyes, blue eyes, red eyes, green eyes, and like I had a girlfriend from China, and she told that she wants to kill people from Taiwan because people from Taiwan are spies of America. America trains the people from Taiwan because they look like Chinese, and then these people infiltrate the factories of China and send secrets to the America. Yeah.
Just sorry to cut you off, but actually, unfortunately, I have a meeting that starts now at 3 p.m. My time. I sort of lost track of the time.
Okay.
A little bit. So it looks like I'm gonna. Yeah, unfortunately, I have to go. It's starting actually right now. But send me the book recommendations you're talking about. I didn't fully follow all of it, to be honest, but I'm looking forward to reading sort of whatever you send. And if you have any more questions about anything with FRP, just let me know.
Okay. Thank you. Bye. And if you will have job,